That's all right. It means I'm doing something right. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pray us in before I forget. So, Lord, I just thank you, God, for this gorgeous weather. Lord, I thank you for the turnout for our yard sale, God. I thank you for not just the blessings that it brings monetarily, Lord, but this is an opportunity for the community to come and see what we're about to be, for us to be representatives of the work that you do here and through this program. God, the work that you have done in my life, the complete transformation that you have done in my life and the lives I have gotten to witness throughout the years here, God, and it is only through you, God. And I ask for you to just use me to speak the words that you need your people to hear. In your name I pray, amen. Amen. So yesterday was not just Wendy's birthday, though it was a glorious, wonderful, wonderful day, but it also marked 5 years since I've been here. Because I showed up. Right. Because I showed up on Wendy's birthday, right? She didn't say it this year, but she used to say that I was her favorite birthday present. Still are. It's okay. But, and I would call that my missionversary. It gets a little bit confusing with me, right? Because I got here May 1st of 2019, and I went through the whole program. I successfully completed the 8 to 10 month program. 8 months to the day, actually. Star pupil on paper. On paper, right? I'd only gotten written up for bad attitude twice in 8 months. And if you would have known about the situations, you'd be like, well, that was kind of justified. No, it wasn't, but. I got written up for having nail polish in my box during room searches, whenever my room captain at the time had told me whenever I came to check in, you can put that in your box, right? And lying for not being on clothes count, right? So, but those are like the big, and hiding darkness, because there was one time when we were GIing the kitchen on a Tuesday, and one of the sisters had put on a pot of coffee, but I was doing dishes, right? I was looking out the window. I didn't see her do it. I'm not lying, but I should, right? Do you see how we can try to justify and how messed up that is? I knew exactly what she's doing. I smell it. I agreed. I agreed to her making the coffee, right? Either way. But I can't really say that yesterday was my missionversary, because I did all of that, looked good on paper, read my file, right? But then a day and a half after I graduated, I was walking to the liquor store, right? Because it was only a 7-minute walk. I was 31 years old, crawling out my bedroom window like a preteen, walking to the liquor store, right? 5 weeks after graduation, I was back in jail. And I successfully completed the 8 to 10 month program. Please, right? But by the grace of God, he smacked me in the mouth a little bit. I got swallowed up by a whale. And I didn't spend 3 days, I spent 3 weeks in the belly of the whale, right? And then I got spit back up against my will, without my wishes, which I was grateful for it, don't get it twisted, but I had nothing to do with being back here. It was done for me. All I had to do was show up in court, which I didn't really have any choice, would have a belly chain, and sign a piece of paper. And March 2nd of 2020, almost 2 months to the day after I had graduated the first time, I showed back up here, right? So I don't really know if it's like May 1st, 2019 or March 2nd, 2020. And And even looking at the Manning, March 2nd is not on there, you'll notice, right? Because in coming back, and some of us repeaters know that if you're looking like you're doing good, right, you can get fast-tracked, and I was getting fast-tracked, right? So you spend a month in each phase. And I was halfway through training, so I had been back a month and a half. And it had come to light that I was having an inappropriate relationship, right? It had come to light. But I had been here before. So I knew, like, if I'm getting pulled into the office, they know, right? So what's the point in lying? I didn't tell the truth because I was repentant of it. I told the truth because I wasn't stupid. They know. Why am I going to lie? Why am I going to dig my hole deeper? Right? There's a few, well, we'll come back to that. So, and you can just write down the scriptures as I holler them out. So Jeremiah, that'd be 17, 9 and 10. Who can understand the human heart? There is nothing else so deceitful. It is too sick to be healed. I, the Lord, search the minds and test the hearts of people. I treat each of them according to the way they live, according to what they do. According to what they do and how they live. Right? 1 Corinthians 10, one of my favorites. Because, and again, this is the Bible that was given to me May 1st of 2019. I love this thing. It's written in all over the place. 1 Corinthians 10:12. And this is the Good News translation. This is the OG gangster version. Read Proverbs in it. It'll make you cry. 10:12. If you think that you're standing firm, you had better be careful that you do not fall. I have that underlined in blue ink because that's the pen that I had. And in this little margin down here, I know it's just scribbles to you guys right here, but it literally says, stop thinking I got this. You don't got this, you prideful turd. Talking to myself, right? Because we can deceive ourselves into thinking that we're doing okay because we're sitting in these seats, right? James 1:22. Do not deceive yourselves by just listening to his word. Instead, put it into practice. If you listen to the word, but do not put it into practice, you are like people who look in a mirror and see themselves as they are. They take a good look at themselves and then go away at once and forget what they look like. So you can sit in this room. You can listen to what's being said. You can listen, because I'm gonna give some examples, because the way that I know how to teach is from the mistakes I've made and the truth that I have found in his word and applied to my life. I have found myself in these pages, in these people in history that we learn about. Right? That's how I know how to teach. Because I can give you examples of mistakes I've made and then how the truth became real to me. Because I was forced to, or, pushed into a corner, however you want to phrase it. But I'm here today because I pushed through. Because I didn't run. Because I admitted when I was wrong and stuck it out. And the Lord has blessed that. Right? I know we make it a joke and everything. I love that camper, y'all. I'm a camper person. Right? And I get to live on this absolutely gorgeous property that I in no practical secular means would ever be able to own on my own. But I get to live on this gorgeous hill. I get to mow that yard. Like, I will fight y'all to mow that yard. Like, oh, you sure you don't want Eric to do it? No, I want to mow the yard. I want to mow the yard. Right? It's beautiful. I will. I'll fight you, sir. But and I got blessed with a person that I never would have chosen for myself. And I do not mean that in a bad way. Right? My choices, my picker, broken. Right? Let me tell you about the people that I pick, okay? People that I choose. So, and this is another good teaching moment for deception, right? My ex-husband, who, and again, continue to pray for him. His name has been on that board for years, right? And he is still in Northwest Correctional Complex for some really heinous crimes, right? But I digress. We had gotten to a point in our, and I'm 5 years older than him. Like, I was 27 when we met. He was 22, all this kind of stuff. And he kept telling people that he was schizophrenic, right? You don't get, like, that doesn't show itself until your mid to late 20s, right? He said that he had gotten diagnosed with schizophrenia when he was 15. Coincidentally, that's the year he started doing meth. Okay. Don't have to break that one down. So either way, so we'd gotten so far into our addiction, and he is the one who introduced me to meth. And I had throughout that addiction, like, I convinced myself that I was the sane one of our group of friends, right? Because they all just did meth, right? But I drank, so I, like, leveled myself out, right? I wasn't, like, always crazed and all that kind of stuff, but that's a deceptive, jacked up way of thinking, right? But there was a point in time where his parents would still allow us to come over to the house. Like, we couldn't stay the night or anything, but they would allow us to come in the house and take a shower and make breakfast before they went to work, right? And his dad was a handyman, had a bunch of tools, like, owned a handyman business, all that kind of stuff. And so whenever his dad was in the shower and we were making breakfast, he would go into the garage and get all of his power tools and put them in the trunk of the car so we could, go to the pawn shop later. So then whenever Jason would get into the shower, I would sneak behind him and take them out of the trunk and put them back in the garage, right? So we would get to the pawn shop and he'd pop the trunk and where are the tools? Like, that was our drugs for the day, right? And I'd take a beating for it, because he'd know. But I felt good about myself because I had done the right thing, right? I took on this, like, martyr complex. It's all right, Neil, your power drill is safe. Right? Like, that's it. Like, we trick ourselves into thinking we're decent people when we're so deep in sin we cannot see in front of us. I was a good person. Oh gosh, yeah. So there was this other time where we were selling to somebody, and this is a kid that was like a freshman whenever I was a senior in high school. I had not seen him in quite some time, obviously, but I recognized his face. And Jason was a klepto, right? For whatever. And so he had stolen a necklace from this guy's coffee table. And we left, and the guy called us back, hey, let me get another bag of that, right? And I'm like, this is fishy. Like, I've been doing this way too long. Like, no. Like, it's been 10 minutes. No. Right? Of course, Jason, we go back, right? Gets us into his apartment and pulls a knife because he realizes that the necklace that his dead father had given him was missing from his coffee table. The necklace that Jason had stolen. So I get up and I stand between the, like, knife in my belly, Jason behind me. So it looks from the outside like I'm being this great defender, this great protector for a guy that's twice my size, but mind you, who's cowering behind me. But if you saw it from this guy's perspective, I looked at him with these eyes that were pleading for death. Without saying a word, my face was begging him to jam that knife in me because I wanted to die. And I was too much of a coward to leave him. But from the outside, I was a protector, right? So that's the story we told. I deceived everybody. I was this big, strong, whatever chick who was begging for death. every day I woke up. Every day. Can anyone relate to any of this? Are there things that you have told yourself you're doing good? You're sitting in these seats. You're soaking it all in. But then you're going in that room and you're talking smack. You're treating each other like garbage. When we are told all throughout this truth to love each other as ourselves. And I don't see it. And I know that sometimes it feels harsh when we get up here and we say things that you don't want to hear, but it is because we love. It is because we have walked that path. We have made those wrong turns, and only by the grace of God are we standing today. And I know you hear Wendy say it all the time, and she said it for a long time. It is our duty. It is our calling as your brothers and sisters, not as your directors, not as your overseer, but as your brothers and sisters who have been down that path to go, please don't jump. There is a cliff. It is not our job to yank you by the shirt collar and pull you back, because choosing him is just that. It's a choice. We can guide you to the right one, and we can go, listen, I know this is right. I know this looks really good over here, but that's the way the enemy works. He makes it look really good. He makes it sound really good. I know this is a tougher path. I know this is a harder hike, but the payoff is so much better. It's longer lasting. It is eternal. Thank you. My hub's back there. Let me back up. Like when in our lives, this is a room full of people who should understand this better than most. What good comes of something easily gained? We all understand it. We have all lived that. And yet we get here and think it's going to be different this time? That we're just going to book when things get tough and we're going to be able to manage? This is the safest place in the world to make mistakes. Living proof. Living proof. Because you know what? The person that I got busted with for that inappropriate relationship, I have no idea where he is. The last time he ran across my Facebook people you may know, pray for him. Please. Because, again, you know, we couldn't be here together, so he was given an opportunity to transfer and didn't take it. Because he had just gotten a $7,000 inheritance from his grandmother, right? Because he was going to live off that in Florida. Live it up for about a week, right? What's your plan after that, huh? I am strong with you guys, and I say some things in ways that you probably don't like. I know you don't like. Let's put it that way, right? Because unfortunately, and we were discussing this in the office not long ago, a couple days ago, something like that, but unfortunately, the way we are wired, if I talk to you guys like this and just beg and plead for you to make the right choice, it's going to go in one ear and out the other. So I stand here and I yell at you, almost in tears, because I don't want to get a call about you guys. I don't. We don't want to sit in there and cry together and pray for your families, for your kids, for your whoever. I remember whenever I first got back, March of 2020, and Kelly was pregnant with Ellie, and I've told this story before, but I guess not in this generation of you guys, but it's been a minute. But some things had gone down, some darkness came to light with the staff that was here, some really bad darkness, right? And so she had been dealing with that this morning, and Granger County, the jail that I was at, had not called to let CMBTC know that I was coming. They were just bringing me, right? It was a surprise for everybody, right? So I just show up. After all of this craziness had gone down, Kelly is like 5 months pregnant, irritated enough on that stance alone, walking down these back deck steps right here where my transport is standing with me in cuffs. And she's coming down the stairs and she's, what? Like asking questions like, where was the call? And then he was just like, nice man. Well, we can take her back. And of course, no, we'll take her. We got her. Thank you, right? But because of the way she had walked down the stairs, and just frantic and all this kind of stuff, because of my perception, I had no idea about what had earlier happened. So I took all that in on myself, thinking it was just all about me, right? She was just irritated and frustrated because I'd shown up without notice, and how dare you, whatever. That's what I took in, right? And I also had a lot of shame, right? Because I had successfully completed the 8 to 10 month program. So the girls that I had just been counseling were now my counselors. I was day one probie, right? I walked out of here, I can't say strong, like, on paper, I was good. The way I've been the majority of my life, right? On paper, I was good. Until I started getting on paper. So, come on. But I want to read something. And I don't know who's been in here to fold newsletters, if you've happened to take any time to read anything, but I am going to read one. It was written by our very own Sister Pastoress Kelly Singh, and there is one line on here that should resonate with every single person in here. One of the scariest realities in life is that if you insist, God will let you do it your way. That's terrifying. Because I will remember every day the thing that I said to Tom Garner whenever he came over for the intervention, and he told me all about this program, and he said, does this sound like something that you would want to do? And I looked up at him and I said, does it look like my way is getting me anywhere? My way leads to death. Read Proverbs, right? Let's see here. Proverbs 16:2, you may think what you do is right, but the Lord judges your motives. Right? That resonates, because again, we can look good on paper, we can look like we're doing the right thing, but why are you doing it? Are you doing it for selfish gain? Are you doing it to present yourself a certain way? Well, everybody knows Proverbs 16:25. What you think is the right way may lead to death. 17:10. An intelligent person learns more from one rebuke than a fool learns from being beaten 100 times. 17:11. Death will come like a cruel messenger to wicked people who are always stirring up trouble. I think Adam says this is one of the first scriptures he ever learned. James 1, starting in verse 12. Happy are those who remain faithful under trials, because when they succeed in passing such a test, they will receive as their reward the life which God has promised to those who love him. If we are tempted by such trials, we must not say, this temptation comes from God. For God cannot be tempted by evil, and he himself tempts no one. But we are tempted when we are drawn away and trapped by our own evil desires. Then our evil desires conceive and give birth to sin. And sin, when it's full grown, gives birth to death. God doesn't make us make bad choices. The majority of the trials in our lives are things that we've done to ourselves, or things that were a result of other people's bad choices that we happen to be in the path of. God does not make bad decisions for you, right? He gives us a choice. But when, and man, I miss AC Wilson so bad. So, and there's been talk of him teaching on Zoom and everything. Either way, he was a staple to us old timers. But he always said, you know, mistake becomes sin when you continue in it. Right? You can make a mistake. It's a mistake. We're human, right? And just as a little sidebar, you know, and I know, because what really started this entire Devo was a conversation that me and Corinda and Tony were having in the office last week. And we were talking about how, you know, two people can be sitting on the front row together. And we can get this feeling like, you know, this person over here, you know, they had this horrible traumatic childhood, and you know, all these bad things happened to them, and you know, they have every reason in the world to be sitting in this seat. You know, but I had a good childhood. I mean, I'm not personally talking about me. Mine was not great. But you know, I had a good childhood. You know, like I had every opportunity. You know, what happened to me? And we start clawing for reasons as to why we are. We start relying on secular diagnoses. Oh, I'm bipolar, I'm depressed, I'm all this kind of stuff. Like, you know, like Jason said that he was diagnosed schizophrenic whenever he had just been doing meth, right? But we're clawing at these reasons to be why we are. We want to justify the mistakes that we've made and the choices that we've made when we are all born with one, right? We are born with a sin nature into a broken world. That is reason enough for every single person in the world to be on these seats. Every person is just as broken as the next without Jesus. And when you make a mistake, do not run from it. Grow from it. Because God can use that too. Because the mistakes that I've made, the times I have been on that front row and brought back to the first row, because even after that big mistake, later on when I finally made it back up to TC, some darkness was going on in the house that I knew about, so I was hiding darkness, right? So I got ROD'd. Fourth row up to first. I was on that front row like 3 times my second time back. Because those are the days where you didn't just get to stay in your own row when you got ROD'd. Went straight up to the front row. But that taught me humility. One of the things that taught me humility. One of the many. But do not harden your heart to what God is trying to teach you when you make mistakes. Because everything that if you will just break down and say, God, whatever you're trying to grow in me, whatever you're trying to teach me, I know you're going to use it later on. I know every single person in this room needed to hear this. I hope somebody heard it. Because this was for everybody. Because unfortunately, deception is rampant. And I fall victim to it too. Now, I can't say victim. I don't like using that word. I'm not a victim. I never was. I like to throw pity parties for myself a lot. Right? Thank the Lord that He has blessed me with somebody who will point that out to me too. Many people, actually, that will point that out to me. But know that you are loved beyond your own conception of it. We come in here with such a twisted idea of what love is, what the world says love is. Just pat him on the back. Everyone understands what comforter means, right? Co-fortis, to come along and strengthen. Not to pat you on the back. I'm not going to pat anybody on the back. I'm sorry. That's not what I'm here for. That's not what was done for me. Not to me, but for me. So I'm sorry if you don't like the tone of my voice sometimes. Get over it. I love you. Michael, will you pray us out, please?